a new BRICS currency that is backed by gold. The BRICS nations have recently stated their intention to create a payment system that is based on blockchain technology. They are interested in developing a new currency to compete with the United States dollar. Gain an understanding of the things that have occurred up to this point and the ways in which investors can get ready for the potential. To quote India's Minister of Foreign Affairs, there is no idea of a BRICS currency in July. Before heading for the summit, the country's foreign secretary stated that the topic of increasing commerce in national currencies would be one that would be considered. The BRICS nations, which were initially composed of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are currently working toward the establishment of a new reserve currency that will be backed by a basket of their various sovereign currencies. It would be possible for these countries to demonstrate their economic independence while simultaneously competing with the existing international financial system if they were to use the prospective BRICS currency. The current system is dominated by the United States dollar, which is responsible for around 90% of all market transactions involving currencies. Up until very recently, over 100% of oil trading was carried out in US dollars. However, in 2023, it was claimed that one-fifth of oil trades were carried out using currencies other than the US dollar. Central to this ongoing situation is the US trade war with China, as well as US sanctions on China and Russia. It is quite possible that the establishment of a new reserve currency by the BRICS nations would have a substantial impact on the United States dollar, which might potentially result in a decrease in demand, a phenomenon that is referred to as de-dollarization. The United States economy and the economy of the entire world would be affected as a result of this. A new currency is something that the BRICS nations would like to establish for a variety of different reasons. Recent global financial challenges and aggressive U.S. foreign policies have prompted the BRICS countries to explore the possibility. Their goal is to lessen the world's reliance on the United States dollar and the euro while simultaneously better serving their own economic interests internationally. When will a BRICS currency be released? There is currently no launch date that can be considered definitive. Nevertheless, the presidents of the countries have had extensive conversations about the prospect. At the 14th BRICS Summit, which took place in the middle of 2022, Russian President Vladimir Putin stated that the BRICS nations intend to produce a new global reserve currency, and that they are prepared to collaborate freely with any and all partners seen to be fair. In April of 2023, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva expressed his support for a BRICS currency by making the following statement. Why is it that an institution such as the BRICS Bank cannot have a currency to finance trade relations between Brazil and China, as well as between Brazil and all of the other BRICS countries? Following the conclusion of gold parity, who made the decision that the dollar would serve as the trade currency? In the latter part of the previous year, in the months leading up to the BRICS summit that took place in August of 2023, there was a lot of speculation that an announcement of such a currency would be being considered. Nevertheless, this turned out to be a case of wishful thinking. The development of anything alternative is more of a goal that you should have for the medium to long term. There is no suggestion that a BRICS currency should be created at this time, Mastorp said in an interview with Bloomberg at the time. It has been reported by Anil Suklal, the ambassador of South Africa to the BRICS group, that as many as 40 countries have expressed interest in joining the group. Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates were the 6 countries that were invited to become members of the BRICS group during the BRICS summit that took place in 2023, respectively. In January of 2024, all countries, with the exception of Argentina, became official members of the alliance. Some industry professionals are of the opinion that the concept of a BRICS currency is faulty since it would bring together nations that have quite distinct economies. There are also concerns that non-Chinese members might increase their dependence on China's yuan instead. That said, when Russia demanded in October 2023 that India pay for oil in yuan, India refused to use anything other than the US dollar or rupees. Russia is struggling to use its excess supply of rupees. An assistant to the Kremlin named Yuri Ushakov stated in March 2024 that although the BRICS nations do not yet have their own unique digital currency, a BRICS payment system that is based on blockchain technology is currently in the process of being developed. The multi-sided payment network would be known as the BRICS Bridge, and it would connect the financial systems of member nations by utilizing payment gateways for settlements in digital currencies issued by central banks. The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication (SWIFT) system, which is now used for international cross-border payments and is dominated by US dollars, would be replaced by the intended system, which would serve as an alternative to the current platform. We are of the opinion that the establishment of an independent BRICS payment system is a significant objective for the future. This system would be founded on cutting-edge instruments such as digital technology and blockchain. The most important thing is to make sure that it is convenient for governments, common people, and businesses, as well as cost-effective and free of politics, Ushakov said in an interview with the Russian news agency TASS. For the BRICS nations, the introduction of a new currency might bring about a number of advantages, including the facilitation of more effective international transactions and the expansion of financial inclusion. It is possible that the currency will change the global financial system if it makes use of blockchain technology, digital currencies, and smart contracts. It is also possible that it may enhance economic integration and trade among the BRICS states and beyond, thanks to the seamless cross-border payments that it would facilitate. Moreover, a new BRICS currency would accomplish the following goals. 1. It would strengthen economic integration within the BRICS countries. 2. It would reduce the influence of the United States on the global stage. 3. It would weaken the standing of the United States dollar as a global reserve currency. 4. It would encourage other countries to form alliances in order to develop regional currencies. 5. It would mitigate risks associated with global volatility due to unilateral measures and the diminution of dollar dependence. Over the course of several decades, the United States dollar has maintained its position as the most prominent reserve currency in the world. According to the Atlantic Council, the United States dollar is used in approximately 88% of currency exchanges and 59% of all foreign currency reserves held by central banks. This information comes from the United States Federal Reserve, which reports that between 1999 and 2019, the dollar was used in 96% of international trade invoicing in the Americas, 74% in the Asia-Pacific region, and 79% in the rest of the world. The majority of central banks throughout the world are in possession of dollars because of its position as the currency that is most frequently converted and because it is utilized as a benchmark in the foreign exchange market. In addition, the dollar is the currency that is utilized for the great bulk of oil transactions. The dollar is still the most extensively used reserve currency, followed by the euro, the yen, the pound, and the yuan. This is despite the fact that the dollar's share of reserve currency has declined as a result of the rise in popularity of the euro and the yen. Experts continue to debate whether or not a new BRICS currency has the ability to threaten the dominance of the dollar. The potential impact of a new BRICS currency on the United States dollar is yet unknown. On the other hand, if a new BRICS currency were to stable versus the dollar, it may reduce the effectiveness of the sanctions imposed by the United States, which would result in an even greater decrease in the value of the dollar. A crisis in the economy that affects households in the United States could potentially be caused by it. In addition to that, the introduction of this new currency has the potential to hasten the process of de-dollarization. Countries all over the world are looking for alternatives to the United States dollar. Some examples of this include China and Russia trading in their own currencies, as well as countries such as India, Kenya, and Malaysia advocating for de-dollarization or signing agreements with other nations to trade in local currencies or alternative benchmarks. The possibility of challenging the dominance of the dollar as a reserve currency is still present, despite the fact that it is not apparent whether the introduction of a new BRICS currency will motivate the development of other alternatives to the US dollar. Additionally, as nations continue to diversify their reserve holdings, the United States dollar may be subjected to a growing amount of competition from emerging currencies, which may result in a shift in the power dynamic in global markets. Asterisk the adoption of a new BRICS currency, the degree to which it is believed to be stable, and the extent to which it can provide a viable alternative to the dollar's longtime hegemony will ultimately determine the influence that the new currency will have on the United States dollar. Now, let's have a look at the facts. How can investors get ready for the introduction of a new BRICS currency? Investors may face difficulties when attempting to adjust their portfolios in reaction to emerging patterns in the currencies of the BRICS nations. Nevertheless, there are a number of approaches that can be taken in order to profit on these developments. Asterisk, diversify your exposure to currency fluctuations by investing in assets that are denominated in currencies other than the United States dollar. Some examples of such assets include bonds, mutual funds, and exchange-traded funds, ETFs. Asterisk, as a buffer against the danger of currency fluctuations, you should invest in commodities such as gold and silver. Asterisk, obtain exposure to the equity markets of the BRICS nations by purchasing equities and exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that track the BRICS market indexes. We recommend that you take into consideration alternative investments in the BRICS countries, such as private equity or real estate. Furthermore, prudent investors will evaluate these techniques in light of their exposure to volatility in the market, political climate, and currency exchange rates. The iShares MSCI BIC ETF, ARCA BKF, and the Pacer Emerging Markets Cash COW 100 ETF, NASDAQ ECOW, are two examples of exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that investors could take into consideration when it comes to investing vehicles. These individuals also have the option of investing in mutual funds, such as the T. Rowe Price Emerging Markets Equity Fund, or in specific businesses that are located within the BRICS nations. Simply said, investors need to conduct thorough study and exercise due diligence in order to get ready for the introduction of a new BRICS currency or the possibility of de-dollarization. The diversification of currency exposure, as well as investments in commodities, equities markets, or alternative investments, are all potential options that should be considered while keeping in mind the risks that are connected with such assets. Despite the fact that it is not known for certain whether or not the BRICS nations will be able to establish a reserve currency, the introduction of such a currency would have huge repercussions for the economy of the entire world and might potentially pose a threat to the United States dollar's position as the primary reserve currency. The altering landscape would modify monetary policy and intensify geopolitical tensions, which would result in the introduction of risks to current assets. However, this transformation would create chances for investment that are not available anywhere else. Because of these factors, investors ought to keep a close eye on the development of a potential BRICS currency. In addition, if the bloc does finally establish a currency, it will be essential to monitor the influence that the currency has on the economies of the BRICS nations, as well as the global market as a whole. In order for investors to capitalize on growth chances and protect themselves from potential threats, it is important for them to remain watchful.